Motor City Fly Tying Company here, and today we're going to tie up one of my absolute favorite patterns, the Georgia Crae. I came up with it the night my baby niece Georgia Crae was born, with some supplies that were sitting in my trash bin. So we're going to start with an Ahrex size 4 curved gammarus hook and some pretty large dumbbell eyes and figure 8 them on. Afterwards, you'll want to wrap on top of the shank around your X wraps or figure 8 wraps and then tighten it down. You'll want to repeat this process one more time just so that the eyes don't move anywhere because this fly sits on its head. I like to add some super glue and then completely redo the process so that those wraps don't go anywhere. I have a feeling this is going to be a pretty killer fly for me up north this summer for smallmouth and carp. You'll want to wrap a little farther down the bend of the hook than I did. It was definitely a little bit of a challenge to wrap the extra length I needed to down the shank with the squirmy wormy material already on the hook. It's a very cool material, but it can be a pain in the butt to work with. I'm going to secure it the entire length all the way up to dumbbell eyes and then snip it free once it's secure. I like to wrap up and down the shank a couple times, and each time I wrap up and down, I go a little tighter with each wrap just to help secure it in place. I'll snip the tail free about 2 hook shanks in length. You're going to grab some flutter legs, double them over your bobbin, and tie them in. Snip the legs about halfway or 3/4 of the length of the squirmy wormy tail. Now you're going to grab some rust colored marabou. You want to make sure your tips are pretty well aligned. I'm licking my fingers to help me just maneuver the marabou, but I should have wet them a little more. You'll tie in the marabou. It's always a little difficult tying in materials when you're this far down the bend of the hook, just because the point always seems to hit your thread unless you're pretty careful. I'm lucky I didn't snap my thread just there. Now secure down the marabou all the way. And wrap further down the bend of the hook. This will be probably the farthest we go down, but it's going to help the fly stand on its head when it hits the water. We'll grab a crustaceous brush. I'm using the tricolor one, and strip off some of the fibers to expose the wire to help you tie it in. You'll palmer that forward while brushing the fibers backwards. It's okay if it looks really bushy and messy right now, because we'll trim it back once we get it secured down. You're going to tie off the brush. I like to use the inside edge of my scissors to snip the wire when I can't find my wire cutters. That way I don't dull the points, and I'm just dulling really just the first millimeter of the inside edge. I try to be pretty careful about it, but I'm definitely going to need a new pair of scissors soon. I'm looking at the Andromenus line. I just have to wait till I get paid. But I'd love some scissors from them. And they're a fellow Michigan person, so that's kind of cool. Gotta support local. So I'll whip finish and snip it free. And the way I like to trim these is I'll pull up the top of the fly, or what's really the bottom, and basically cut that off flat, pretty close to the dumbbell eyes. I'll turn the hook around and I'll pull all of the fibers towards me, and I'll kind of trim in line with the hook so that when the fibers lay down, they're flat enough that a fish can get hooked. And this is the pattern I like to call the Georgia Crae. In about 5 years, I can't wait to use it with my baby niece.